Welcome back to another episode of the Outsider Sports Baseball Podcast. Corey, Jason, John, Pauline, ready to break down some trade deadline stuff with you guys. But first, one of the greatest baseball players I've ever seen, one of the all time greats. To me, if he was healthy, he'd be Inner Circle Hall of Fame and still honestly has a chance to be Inner Circle Hall of Fame. Mike Trout, he's expected to play as soon as July 25th. That's only in a couple days. He should be back, which gets me really excited to see him.
Especially for how good he was playing at the start of the season.
He just
He, like,
so
10
many
home runs, like,
injuries.
almost immediately.
People say that Aaron Judge is injury prone, but since Judge came into the league in 2017, Trout has missed a lot more games than Judge. So, like,
I don't think people are saying Trout's not injury prone, though.
they're not saying that he's not injury prone, but it's not being, his production isn't being as discredited as Judge's is with that injury tone
I
title.
think it's just because Aaron Judge is on the Yankees.
I guess.
I
I
think
think
that's
Trout
just the
deserves
reason.
out of the Angels, but I love that he's still there because players should stick, with where they're at.
Yeah, but it's just a shame because it's like I don't think he's gonna get that Series win.
No, but that's fine. Ken Griffey Jr. never got one either.
That's a shame too. That's a travesty.
Sadly, Chase Utley has one.
I
Chase
remember
Utley's
that.
not,
I remember that whole series.
Chase Utley's not very well liked in the New York area from his
No,
time with the Phillies or the Dodgers. But Chase Utley's still on the Hall of Fame ballot.
it doesn't surprise me that much.
He got quite a bit of the percent of the vote last year. There's a chance he'll eventually get in.
Yeah.
History dictates that he should eventually get in. But we also had the Hall of Fame inductions for the guys who did get in this past week. Do you know who the four guys are?
I actually didn't. I don't know. I don't remember. I kind of remember who I think we voted for ourselves, like our picks were.
So we got Todd Helton from the Rockies, who I think should be a Hall of Famer. Joe Mauer from the Twins, who I think is supremely overrated, but I can see the argument. Adrian Beltre, who all-time great third baseman
Yep.
for a lot of teams.
I feel like he was like the no-brainer on that ballot.
Yes, he was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Then you have a non-player. You have a coach, Jim Leland, coached, I believe, the Marlins. He coached the Tigers is where I remember him at. Always remember him smoking in the dugout. One of the last people who did that.
You don't see that anymore.
No, so I enjoyed Jim Leland. I think he's a great manager. He won't be the last manager in. You'll get guys like Terry Francona
Yeah.
eventually in, Dusty Baker. And then some other guys who are, lower down on the list, but numerically should eventually get there. Alex Cora is a name that could do it. Dave
Yep.
Roberts could do it. I mean, wins-wise, Aaron Boone is one of 3 managers ever to have a 600 winning percentage. He's got a lot of wins. He shouldn't, but, that's something that you should at least bring up.
Yeah.
He just needs to win some championships. Please. Please. Then you got guys, like Brandon Hyde, Kevin Cash, or, considered, high up there managers. Bruce Bochy is a Hall of Fame manager. So you have a lot of these guys that are really good. Most of them will never get in, but some of them could sneak in eventually. Also want to bring up Yordan Alvarez hitting for the cycle. I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't, and I feel like I have him on my fantasy team, and I don't think I was paying attention.
That dog days of summer on that team. But, Alvarez, not a guy you would think would be able to hit a triple, right?
Triples are just tough to
Tough.
begin with.
He's a home run hitter. He'll get the double, the single, but triples are tough. He doesn't have a lot of speed to him. He hit the second cycle in the majors this year. Do you remember who hit the first? Less than a month ago.
I don't remember. I don't.
Wyatt Langford from the Rangers hit it on June 30th. But Yordan is also the second player to ever hit a cycle in Seattle. at T-Mobile, Safeco, whatever you want to call it, field. The first player did it on September 29th, 2001, and that was Miguel Tejada.
I'm not familiar with him.
You don't remember Miguel Tejada?
I don't. I don't.
Longtime Orioles shortstop. Orioles, that's like your team, your adopted team. Oakland A's.
I didn't pay. Look, I'm a more recent Orioles fan from about 2 years ago.
Man, you don't even remember Brian Roberts, do you?
No,
JJ Hardy?
JJS, yes.
Okay. JJ Hardy, you good. Trey Mancini?
Yes, Trey Mancini, yes, I know.
Okay,
Yes,
finding the area where you're at.
yes. That's about. I didn't like that. Yeah.
Zach Britton, Adam Jones.
Yep. Yeah.
So post 2010.
Yeah, around there, because that's when I was that's when I started to get like really, really into baseball.
Gotcha.
Around that time, I went to was going to like a lot of Phillies games. I knew like the batting line, knew the whole team, batting lineup for the field, all of it.
You strike me as a big John Mayberry Jr. guy.
I did like him when he came up. Yeah. You mentioned it. Yeah, I remember watching the game, and when his first hit, he hit a double. I don't remember who it was for, but I remember his first game up, he hit a double.
That's funny. But so Jordan did that. We also had the All-Star game a week ago. American League, as always, beat the National League. There's a 94th All-Star game. Next year's the 95th. That'll be in Atlanta. I think they're saving the 100th to be either in Chicago or Fenway, Wrigley or Fenway. They're the two oldest stadiums. I believe
I
that's
can
where it
see
should
that.
be. But I think Yankee Stadium will have one before then because the new Yankee Stadium hasn't had one yet.
When was the last time the Yankees had one? Like
2008 at the
yeah,
old
they're
stadium,
due.
final year.
Yeah, they're due.
They're due. I mean, when did Philly have one?
I don't know if they had one in this new stadium, but I know 1996 they had one in Veteran Stadium before. Like that was the last one. That was the last one I'm aware of. Was 1996 in Veteran Stadium. They had the
Yeah,
All-Star game.
that's interesting.
I don't know if they had one in the new Citizens Bank Park because that stadium went up in 2004.
So, according to Major League Baseball, in 2025 they'll have one at Truist Park in Atlanta. 2026 will be at Citizens Bank Park in Philly. So that
I
should
don't
be
want to
fun.
go
So you'll
there.
get one in 26.
I don't want to go to that.
So would I. It's very close.
Super close. My dad went to the one in '96. He has the ticket.
Oh, that's sick.
Nice.
Too bad they don't do tickets anymore.
They're so nice. I wish they would just do, especially for games like that, because you want to keep the ticket because it'd be nice to have because they're really nice.
Yeah. I wish they did that. But
Next, if I'll just bring it on and show you.
Jaron Duran of the Red Sox was the MVP of the All-Star game. Hit a game-winning 2-run home run in the bottom of the fifth. AL won 5-3. Did you watch? What was like your biggest takeaway?
I
Other than that
watched.
the American League is vastly superior to the National League.
Is there a reason why it does? You have is there a reason why a actual reason why the American League just seems to have better players?
The Yankees.
Is it just they have more bigger market teams like that are spending money on the
No
players
such
or
thing as big and small markets. Okay.
but you know what I mean they have the deep pocket teams that are willing to spend money.
I mean, do they? Let's
Yeah, I
let's look
mean
like this.
you're not gonna
In
see
the New York market's the biggest market, right?
yes
What team is in the New York market? What are the teams?
at the Mets, right?
Mets are what league?
They're national. I'm just saying they're national, but it's but do
Right.
they like spending money though? That's the thing. Like, would the Mets spend like
The Mets spend money.
$600 million?
The Mets have the biggest payroll in baseball this year.
I know, but do you think but would they spend just because the biggest payroll doesn't mean anything?
Well, you look Yankees and Mets.
Teams
New
overpay
York is a
players
wash, right?
so much.
Los Angeles, Dodgers and Angels. Is it fair to say that they'll cancel out the Yankees and Mets then?
Okay,
Chicago, you got the Cubs and White Sox. After that, what's the fourth biggest market? What's the fourth
I
biggest? What if you had to take a guess?
After Angels, like the Dodgers and the Yankees in Chicago, probably
So here, I'll
Philly
do this.
or Boston.
So we have the Yankees are the biggest market,
Yeah,
followed by Boston, followed by the Phillies. So you have the New York market, Yankees and Mets, then Boston, and then Philly. But what I'm looking at also seems to take into account what they're spending as well. So here you have the
well,
Yankees. You have New York City's the best. This is the TV market. This is what they consider the market size.
yeah.
New York City's the most. That's Yankees and Mets. Los Angeles is second. That's Dodgers and Angels. Chicago's third. Cubs, White Sox. So I think we should say that those top three markets cancel each other out, one for
Yeah,
each
but I
team.
say, but it's important, like who, like if they're spending that money, because
Right. I mean,
I
Cubs
mean,
spend more than the White Sox. Dodgers spend more than the Angels. Yankees spend more than the Mets. I think they all kind of even out at the end. Fourth biggest market's Philadelphia. That's National League. Followed by the Dallas Fort Worth, which is the Rangers. Followed by Houston, which is the Astros. Followed by Atlanta, which is the Braves. So again, that's two of each. And the numbers seem to, you know, even out. Then you have Boston, then the Nationals, Giants, and A's. So you have an equal in the top 10, you have an equal amount of American and National League teams. Now, as you get lower, I'm sure it'll start to, you know, peter out and you'll have more American League and then
and
a
I
bunch.
feel like that's where the difference is, considering the All-Star game is like, some of these players only play for like an inning, and you start running through,
Yeah,
what I mean? They have
but
like one pitcher pitch to one batter.
even before that, though, you have guys that still have to spend 5 to 7 years with the team that drafted them. So, like, you still have guys on those smaller market teams when they're young in their prime still playing for them.
But I mean, like you can't just sit there and say like everyone who makes the All-Star team should be on the All-Star team rosters. Like I feel like it. Like there's some players there. I mean, shouldn't have been there,
You're
and I
absolutely right.
and it's the fact that it's the fact that you want to get everyone in the play, and I think when it comes down to it, I think the American League just has a little bit more advantage there.
I guess so. It just
I
seems to have
mean,
been going on for so long.
I just wonder like what the because there has to be some kind of measurable reason as to why.
I don't know. I
Like,
don't know. I
because
don't know if
they won when they won what like 2 years ago, National League won when
they
Rob
won a
Thompson
couple.
managed.
I believe they won last year.
It was either I think it was last year. It might have been last year. I think it
The
was last
National League has won the All Star game 7 times in the last 30 years. The American League has been dominating since the 60s. My bad. The National League dominated in the 60s and 70s, but since 82, the American League has won an incredible amount. And you could say the designated hitter is a big reason why, but that's been removed for a couple years
That's
now, and it
that's
still
that's been
hasn't
gone for a
changed.
while. I mean, I'm still under the thing that it's just for the longest time, and you have to kind of agree is that the Yankees would just buy every good player. They would just take they would buy almost every good player they could. And a lot of
Right.
other teams at that point in time, like for the longest time, I mean, now you have teams starting to go out and spend the money and build, like do more and more stuff. Like the Phillies are starting to do it and all that and stuff. But it's like for the longest time, I feel like it was just the
Yeah.
Yankees.
The
And
Yankees were the first to revolutionize that, but they
yeah,
also, there were still spots for other teams and other players.
yeah. But that's a huge advantage when it comes to that, and I feel like but you feel like it would even out by now, but I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
Is it indicative of, like, in World Series winners too, or is the
No,
American League winning more World Series?
they are not. I believe the National League actually might be winning more or it might be even.
See,
National League,
that's
yeah. I
because
don't
you
know.
would think logically the National League then would not be winning World
Right.
Series.
So if you take that into account, it really doesn't make sense why it's so lopsided in the middle of the season and then almost doesn't lopsidedly reverse, but reverses where the National League wins more World Series at the end.
Yeah.
But again, Jaron Duran of the Red Sox won the All-Star Game MVP. American League won 5-3. He hit a two-run home run off of Hunter Green. Mason Miller's your winning pitcher. Emmanuel Clase got the save. But,
It's a good
you
game.
know, it would have been
It
sick
was a
if that Otani three-run home run,
I
stood.
saw that's the I saw I was like, that's the part I caught. I caught that part.
I wish
Yeah,
Judge did
you know who
something more.
started that? You know who started that whole thing?
Bryce Harper, Trey
It
Turner,
was Profar.
Jerkson Profar.
I'm almost positive it was
He
Profar.
he belonged to be there.
He did.
He deserved
But
to be there.
I think before we go off, can we talk about the uniforms for the
Yeah,
All-Star? Like,
they're not great.
I they're not good. I don't know if you saw that Manfred's like, they might go back to just teams wearing their own like, the team uniforms for next season,
Yeah,
and it's like, I'd rather them do that, and if they wanna do a hat, because like or just make better jerseys, because, like, what they're doing now what they've
I'm
been
talking
doing
about how
now is just
next year they might go back to having the teams and players play in their actual jerseys and
yeah.
just have a hat.
I think they were doing that or just maybe full jersey like how it used to be,
Yeah, they're
but
gonna go back to how it used to be.
yeah, and, I'm for that.
But what I wanted to talk about now, though, John, I want to get into buyers and sellers and name some names who could be moved. So you tell me where you want to go. Do you want to hear some players who could be moved, or do you want to talk about who could be buyers and sellers first?
Let's start with the players.
All right. Trade deadline's coming up. Trade deadline will be Tuesday, July 30th. It'll be next week at 6 p.m. is when the deadline hits. So I'm going to go position by position. I'm not going to name every player. I'm going to be missing quite a few. But these are some names that are being thrown around that could be traded. So we got at catcher, the biggest name available will be Elias Diaz of the Rockies, right?
Yeah.
First base, Andrew Vaughn of the White Sox, Vlad Guerrero of the Blue Jays, Isaac Paredes of the Rays, and Nathaniel Lowe of the Rangers could be a possible move. Anybody you want to add to either of those two positions?
Uh, those positions, not that I can think of off the top of my head.
Anybody you can see the Phillies making a move for right there?
I would have said earlier, um, if they needed a catcher, you know, but I think JT just came back the other day, so I mean, I think they're out on all those guys.
Now, the Yankees could make a move for a catcher. I don't think they will or should. Austin Wells has been hitting pretty well over the last month. Jose Trevino, will be coming back eventually. But I think giving Wells the everyday at bats is probably the best for the future. And then first base, you got Ben Rice playing well. Rizzo will be back eventually. LeMahieu sucks. I can see them maybe making a move. I would love Isaac Paredes from the Rays. I just don't think that's realistic. Neither is Vlad Guerrero. But now moving on, though, to second base, you got Jazz Chisholm Jr. He's moving from center field to second base where he played originally. He's in the Marlins. Shortstop, you got Paul DeJong from the White Sox, Bo Bichette from the Blue Jays, and third base, you got Luis Rengifo from the Angels. Anybody you see from the Phillies' point of view?
I saw they were looking at Chisholm. I think
Yeah,
maybe as like I don't know as an infield I should probably put him back at outfield. But I saw that they were out on him again too with I guess everyone coming back off of injury now. Like I think the Phillies might just be out on all the outfielders. I mean, unless they can get because I don't know anyone that they could specifically trade for that would be like a substantial upgrade.
right. I don't know, man. I think
But
Rengifo would be a much bigger upgrade over Alec Boehm.
yeah, you want to get rid of the. I think I don't think he'd make a good GM there.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Renhefo's
Yeah.
probably the only one I think the Yankees would target out of all that group. I think he'd be a really good fit at third base. But the Yankees' problems are so
Yankees
deep
don't want
seated.
you don't want Bo Bichette there take over for Volpe.
No, no, no. Volpe till the day I die. The Italian local kid. We love that here. Chicken parm and all that talk. Now going to the outfield, you got Randy Rosarena of the Rays, Jesse Winker, Miguel Andujar on the A's, Taylor Ward, Adolis Garcia, Luis Robert, Lane Thomas, Brent Rooker of the A's. Anybody of those pique your interest for the Phillies?
I would say out of all those players, like the most that I like Brent Rooker a lot, but like he doesn't really have a spot on the Phillies unless he can, play left field, you know, good.
Brent
And
Rooker would be so much fun, though.
their lineup would be crazy if they had him. But I mean, I see a lot of people throwing out Luis Robert from the White Sox there. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you look at the season he's having right now, I mean, it's nothing like special so far this season. I mean, last year he had a decent season. I think he had like 270, 38 home runs or something like that,
Right.
that's pretty good. It's really good. And, I see a lot of people saying, we need that fourth outfielder and stuff because for some reason they're platooning like Rojas and Marsh and stuff. I I get it and I don't, but it's just like so. I mean, I can see them going after him and probably getting him for cheap. The problem is like if you're the Phillies, you don't want to give up too much and you don't want to tweak your roster too much because I feel like the clubhouse they have is a really important part of like why they're doing so well. And I don't think you want to move like too many pieces, you know.
You want to keep the vibes the same. You don't
Yeah,
want to hurt any of that. But I don't know. I think a couple names. It would take a lot to get a lot of these guys. A Rosarena would cost a lot. Robert would cost a lot. Brent Rooker would cost a
costs a
lot.
lot.
Adolis Garcia would cost a
Costs
lot,
a
and you don't
lot.
know if these guys are going to be moved.
Taylor Ward might be the only one who you can get the thing. And it's like, I don't know how much you're willing to give up for a position that you kinda need, but you don't really need. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not an urgency.
The Phillies don't really have a need at any position right now.
I think they have a need at one, but we'll save that when we get into.
Now going into pitching, right? You got Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, Tarek Skubal, Tigers, Carlos Estevez on the Angels, Mason Miller, Oakland, David Robertson, Texas, Tanner Scott, Miami, Eric Fetty, Zach Eflin, Yusei Kikuchi, Frankie Montas, and Nick Martinez of the Reds, Nathan Eovaldi, Kirby Yates, Michael Lorenzen. These are a bunch of pitchers who are or could possibly be available. Now, obviously, everybody wants Crochet and Skubal.
Yeah.
Skubal not likely to be moved.
I
I
saw
would
the
be surprised.
Yankees being tied to him a little bit.
Yeah, I would give up a lot for Skubal. A lot. I don't want Crochet as much, but he's still a great player. The Dodgers have been tied to Crochet to get him and Robert together. Estevez, he's a good trade candidate, free agent at the end of the year. Tanner Scott's the best left-handed reliever. I would love him. Mason Miller would cost a lot though to get traded. Robertson's old, but sturdy. A lot of names out there. Which one do you want the Phillies to get the most though?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think, you would say because I think out of all the needs the Phillies have, like, starting pitching's good, their, lineup's good, they have all the bats, I think fielding's solid, but I think their one weakness is the relief pitching, specifically in the closing spot. I mean, I think they only have like 15 blown saves or 16 blown saves this season, and
Must be nice.
it's halfway through the season, so you expect at least like, maybe like another like, 15 more or 10 more or
Right.
something like that.
So if you had to pick one name to be your relief pitcher that you think is likely, so Mason Miller wouldn't be
Mason
likely.
Miller, yeah, he that's too much, and I don't think you want to wreck your farm system for him. Tanner Scott, though, I think there's a realistic possibility that they can give up some of like, a few of the some of their prospects and
Right.
stuff up to get him,
Would you do a
especially.
Tanner Scott Jazz Chisholm combo package?
I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, like, if you can get it done and you're not wrecking your whole farm system for it, and if you can use, because I mean, obviously, I don't know if you're gonna, because you're not gonna take, Chisholm to go play the infield because the infields are already crowded enough the way it is right now in Philly. But I mean, if you're gonna move him out to left, I mean,
It's possible.
I think that would be what you go for. You try to get the combo trade or, him the most, and I feel like they can give up some of their infield prospects because I mean, their infield's gonna be crowded for a while. I mean, you have
Yeah.
Boehm, you have Turner, Stott, Sosa, and Harper up there, and it's like they're
Cody Clemens.
and Clemens is there too. So it's like and you don't, and all those guys are good, and it's just like so like you could afford to give up,
Right.
one of your good infield prospects to get a shutdown closer, which I think that's the difference. That's going to be the difference later on. I mean, because like Alvarado doesn't have it. Once he gets someone on base, it's game over for him. So I think you get a shutdown closer. I think they covered everything, and if they can get Chisholm with Chisholm with it, I mean, Chisholm with it. I mean Chisholm, yeah. What's his name? My brain's just
Jazz
going.
Chisholm.
Jed Chisholm with it. I mean, I think you fill a lot of spots.
Yeah, you'd fill a lot of spots.
But I do think now one team I think you might go after Mason Miller though, who has the stuff to give up, and they might very well be willing to give up their number one prospect again is the Orioles.
Yeah. The
I feel
Orioles.
like I feel like the Orioles might go after Mason Miller 'cause I feel like they need a relief pitcher. They need that closer.
They do need that
And I
closer.
wouldn't be surprised if you see them try to move Jackson Holiday.
Yeah, Jackson Holiday's an interesting case. He didn't show up well, right, when he came up, but he's still somebody who has a lot of potential. But, moving him, he's the number one prospect, could definitely get some play and definitely could get them a big arm like Scooble or Crochet if they decide to get moved.
Yeah. And the Orioles have a lot of I mean, it's not like they're not at a
Kobe
they're not
Mayo's
at
another guy that could get
yeah.
moved. And, the Tigers have been scouting the Orioles farm system pretty relentlessly.
So and they have people that they can move. I mean, the Orioles have, I think, more prospects than they know what to do with,
Yeah,
and almost all of them are producing.
they are,
So,
which is just insane. But now I want to kind of go over which teams, we could see buy and sell. So I kind of have them broken down into categories.
okay.
Let's start off with the almost playoff locks. These are the teams that Fangraphs say have a 90 to 100% chance to make the playoffs as of right now. So you got the Phillies at 99%. I am just rounding to the percent that it's at.
Yeah,
The Dodgers at 98%, the Yankees at 98%, and the Orioles at 97% is what Fangraphs say are your virtual locks.
I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah. I
it's
Yankees, everybody else for sure.
you get you're a little too pessimistic with your Yankees there.
I am. And then you have that next tier right below them, the teams that are likely to make it. 70% to 89%. That gives you Atlanta at 88%, Milwaukee at 88%, Cleveland at 84%, and Minnesota at 76%. I think Cleveland's a little low. Other than that, I can see the rest of these as being accurate,
Yeah,
odds. And now you start to get into these are the guys that should probably buy at the deadline, not sell, but they're on that border. These are on that border of they should, my bad, they should probably buy at the deadline. Not sell, but they're around that area. This
yeah.
is 40% to 69% should be buyers at the deadline, at least in my guesses. That's Houston at 62%, right? Going along with them, if you look at how far back they are, Houston's leading their division. Houston came out of nowhere and they're back. Then you have a team like Kansas City. Kansas City has that third wild card right now. They should buy, not sell. You have a team like Seattle, right? Houston at 62%, Kansas City at 53, Seattle at 50. They're a true 50-50. They're 2.5 back out of the second or third wild card spot in the American League. To me, that's a team that should buy.
I think all three of those teams should buy. I mean, unless you, I mean, I think especially the Royals because I feel like if they can buy for long term here too.
Yeah. Then you got, St. Louis at 47%. They're the second wild card in the National League. They should buy. San Diego at 43%. They're tied for the third wild card. Buy. Arizona at 43%. They're tied for that third wild card. They should buy. And now, though, the 20% to 39% range, this is where you kind of get dicey. So there's three teams in this range. We'll go one by one, and you tell me if you think they should buy or sell. Because I think there's some that should buy and some that should sell.
Yeah,
So again, this is 20% to 39% chances to make the playoffs according to Fangraphs. Boston at 39%. My bad. Yeah, 39%. Boston is one game out of the wild card, the
I
third
think they
wild
buy.
card. I think they buy
I
as
think they
well.
buy. I no
They
reason
should.
not to.
They should. Maybe we should label this, the tentative buyers. They should buy, but not really give up too much. Do
Yeah,
enough to see if they can get that wild card, but you're not going to make that big move. These
yeah.
are the teams that won't make that. They won't get the Crochet or the Scooble or the Robert. These are teams that kind of just want to maybe get a couple rentals, maybe trade for guys that they think they can sign long term to help them in the future, but guys that aren't there yet. You have the Mets at 37%. They're tied for that third wild card in the National League. They should quietly buy.
I think they do. I mean, they're there. They're making a comeback. They. I mean,
And we'll review all this again next week, the day before the deadline.
yeah.
We'll talk and see how things have changed.
I think the Mets do buy though. I mean, I think you're right there and stuff, and it's just, I mean, see if you can get anybody.
Yeah. And then the last team in this tier is the Pirates. They are half a game out of the wild card, that third wild card. They're sitting at 21%. What do you think?
I'm actually kind of torn here a little bit.
And they have
I
a
mean, like,
greater than 20% chance to make the playoffs. 1 in 5 times they will make the playoffs.
I, I mean, like you said, I guess this would be buy, but you're not giving up any. Like, you don't give up too much.
Right.
I mean, I think if I feel like almost all these teams, it's like because they're so close. I feel like they're in that thing. Like, if they can get somebody that they think will make them better for relatively cheap, like they're not giving up a lot.
Yeah.
I think you just go for it automatically and stuff. The only one I would say that maybe can make a little bit more push is maybe the Red Sox
Yeah, for sure.
a little bit.
I mean, the Mets are also, again, the Mets are
Mm,
4 games out of the first wild card. The Mets are 1.5 out of the second wild card, and they're tied for that third wild card. They're right there.
yeah.
2 games over 500.
I think it's just like even though a lot of these teams like it's like it's a lower percentage and stuff and everything, but it's like these wild card races are just so close for like so many like for so many teams.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's only maybe like a couple teams that are like just 100% out of like they're done and you're just selling because you're basically in rebuild mode anyway. And
You are. And I get that.
but I think there's just I feel like almost every team except for like a little that small handful maybe 5 or 6 teams that are almost all buyers in some way. I mean, they're not gonna I mean, not every team's gonna be going after, the high value targets, but I feel like
Right.
they're gonna go after somebody that they, think they need.
So now, going to the lesser tiers, you have 11% to 19%, right? So I think this is where we're going to start to get teams that should sell, but they might not decide until the very end. Right? You got teams like San Francisco at 19%. San Fran is 3 out of the third wild card. They should probably cut their losses and try to get the most they can. Tampa Bay at 18%. You know, they're 5 out of that third wild card, followed by, Texas. Your defending World Series champions, they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs. They're 7.5 out of the third wild card. These are teams that think that they're in, but they should probably realize sooner than later than they're not, at least in my opinion.
I think out of all, I mean, the Giants are still relatively close, I think. And I
Relatively,
mean,
but
you
they're
can
still
make an argument for them to be buyers. I mean, I think the Rays, I mean, they're a little bit further out, and stuff. I mean, you could all.
right.
I mean, it's just like a lot of these teams. Like you could like these teams. You can because it's like like they're still relatively close to that wild at third like no wild card spots. It's like you can make an argument that maybe they can buy and you know get closer. But I mean, if you want to look at the teams and like how they are and like who they have, I mean, Rays probably cut losses because I don't think they really have. I mean, I think they'll start like I think we said last week they're starting to play to their talent. Like,
And they're also fourth in their division.
yeah. So they probably cut their losses. And the Rangers, it's like what happened?
It is what happened. Injuries and just poor play. There's a reason that they, were down and out early on last year and then went on that run. They
Yeah,
just
but
don't have that same spark.
no, they're 7.5 games out of the wild card with only 5 games back in their division. So it's like you could almost argue there, you know. I just think a lot of the stuff's close, and with that extra wild card spot, it's just like you see a lot more closer like a lot more closer races and battles to get into that third spot, and it's like that's what I was saying like earlier. You can almost make an argument for every team, except for a few of them that are like close to 10 games behind to almost be buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's difficult, but I guess it's just I guess it's difficult. It's just if they want to unload players and try to restock rebuild for
Right.
next season.
So now these are the teams that have, less than 10% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Already eliminated from the playoffs are the White Sox, the A's, the Rockies, and Marlins. They have a
Also,
0% chance,
yeah,
not a
also,
point percentage. They're out.
yeah, they
The
also,
Nationals at 0.7% and the Angels at 0.1%. They're in, but they're not in. Right now, these 5 teams need to be selling any expiring contracts, anybody with a year left, 2 years of control, get, depth, just get players. Your team's not good enough. They should move.
yeah, no, like these are the teams that all the other teams have been going to.
But now you have also this 1% to 10% group. You have the Cubs who have an 8% chance to make the playoffs, right? But the Cubs, they're 3.5 out of a wild card spot. They're only a half game worse than the Giants. You have the Tigers who have an 8% chance to make the playoffs. The Tigers, they're 6 out of that third wild card. You have the Reds with a 3% chance. The Reds are 4 out of the wild card spot. And then you have the Blue Jays at a 1% chance to make the playoffs, right? The Blue Jays are 9.5 out. So now on the National League side, these teams are still technically a stone's throw away. A hot streak for them, downfall of a couple other teams, and they're right back in it. But I just think that they're better off selling, and kind of
I
getting rid
can
of some players now.
I can see that, especially with like the Reds maybe or the Cubs if they
Yeah,
want to sell, but they're still close. They're still so close.
they're very close, but like they should move on. They should just retry again.
I mean, but these teams, you're not trading away I don't think you're trading away any like of your star prospects or any of your star players or good players. I feel like these teams are there and
Right.
can be there, so it's like, I don't know if you wanna give up any if you wanna give up expiring contracts or stuff that's be up, stuff and try to, build from there, but I don't think you're giving up,
You're
you're
not
not
giving
sk
up, but
y yeah.
it's worth your time to just cut loss and try again next year.
The
So we'll
American
kind
League
of
teams, though, I think, like the Tigers and stuff, I feel
yes.
like maybe they you might wanna start you that for the Tigers especially and the Blue Jays, you might just start dumping your star players a little bit, a couple of
Yeah,
them, offloading some of
definitely
that,
should just get rid of these guys.
especially the Blue Jays, 'cause I feel like they missed their window with this
I'm just
team.
curious, you know, how soon these teams decide to, because we're in that week up leading up to the deadline. We should be seeing a lot more moves, but
I think
I
you're
don't know.
right,
Do you
though.
foresee any big moves happening before we record again next week?
I feel like almost every single team, considering how close everything is, and that some of these star players we're trading for, except for, a few of the teams that are completely out of it, are going to wait until like right up until the deadline to make trades to see if their odds get any better. Just considering how close, I mean, like 3.5 games, because you're 3 games out, you can make that up. I mean, in a week if you're lucky and be right.
Yeah. So we'll review again next week, and we'll see. I'm sure there'll be some moves, and we'll monitor that. But now I kind of want to highlight, our weekly series that we like to do. Who's your series that you want to highlight?
Guardians, Phillies.
Guardians, Phillies. Tell me more about Guardians, Phillies.
So I think, well, this is another quality team that the Phillies gonna be playing. I mean, they're gonna be playing. It's gonna be a home game and stuff, and the Phillies tend to be play better at home this year than they have been away.
Right.
I mean, you look at when the Phillies go away, they have trouble. But when they're home, they're usually on top. They're on top of things. I mean, just past week they played, in Pittsburgh and won 1 out of 2 games. Oh wait, and they should. There's no way they should have won 2 out of 3. But you're playing the Guardians at home, and this
Yeah.
is a better team. I think the Phillies have one of the tougher schedules the second half of the year with the teams they're going up against. And this is how I was saying earlier, like the schedules even out across the whole season anyway. But so this will be another good test for them to see how they do against the top half of teams here that they might end up seeing sometime in the playoffs. You know,
Yeah. For me, I want to kind of take that same, team you might see in the playoffs or playoff type atmosphere. And I'm going to go both Yankees series. You got Yankees Mets Subway Series. Yankees looking to, avenge their two losses to the Mets back in June. This is a series that the Yankees really need to win, especially if they're looking to get back on the horse after splitting with Tampa coming right out of the All-Star break. They need to start winning games. So you have two against the Mets, and then you take the Red Sox in Boston. The Yankees need to actually do damage against a division rival. They played better against Boston the last time around, but still not great. They need to play consistent. Their pitching needs to be consistent. You might have Stanton back for that Boston series, which would be big to lengthen that lineup. You get guys like Volpe and Wells who look to be hitting better. Judge with 30, 5, 6 home runs. Judge might hit, 40 by the end of the month, which would be insane.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
But the Yankees need a series or something to spark them to
they
go on
need
a
to
run
win a
again.
series. They haven't won a series
Yeah,
since I believe early June against the Royals,
and
like
what
June
better
5th.
way to spark another good run than winning a series against the Mets,
Yes, and then the Red
right?
Sox. And you have the trade deadline. You need to start putting some wins together, or it might be time to sell. Call it
I
quits.
sell the whole team, just
Except
everyone.
Soto. Shed as much salary as possible so you
Judge
can.
gone,
No, no,
Judge,
Judge is untradeable. Move
Garrett
the.
Cole gone.
He's he's going to opt out of his contract at the end of the year, so who knows? Now, again, his opt out is if the Yankees offer him a 10th year at the same value, is same AAV. it voids his opt out. So I believe that would be another 35 million for Cole, 36 million would void his opt out. And that's a no brainer
Yeah,
because you're not going
they
to let
have
him
that
hit the
money.
market. You're not going to let him hit the market. So it's a no brainer for both sides. He'll opt out. The Yankees will be like, all right, you'll get one more year, and it'll be, no big, to do about it. But that's going to do it for us, though. We have the All-Star we just had the All-Star game. We got the trade deadline coming. After that trade deadline, you have August, finishing up the end of baseball season, September, the playoffs. Things are about to get real. We're going to really see if the Phillies, the Orioles, Yankees, Dodgers, maybe it's Cleveland this year. Who knows? We'll see what it is. But for Corey Jason, John Pauline, keep tuning in. Outsidersports.net are our rankings that we do every couple weeks. We'll start having football back up and running soon. Ryan's, I'm sure, really getting geared up for that. Hockey eventually when that comes around, and who knows what other surprises we'll have for you. But keep tuning in every week to the Outsider Sports podcast.